this outfit, so I thought, having a cocktail or two might help. I just don't understand why you're judging me as all. Hey, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 12, Episode 11. And all I have to say is thank you to every single one of you who tipped me on PayPal or visited Redbubble or joined me on Patreon. Of course, all the new Patreoners are listed at the end of this video in the credits, so stay tuned for those. I also I wrote a list of people. Specifically, I wanted to thank Jada Brooks. Cooey Jada Brooks, how are you, doll? I want to thank you for tipping me, and I understand, because you're 9, that you couldn't do it all by yourself, so I really want to thank your uncle for helping you get through that. Of course, that was Cameron Brooks, who tipped me last week, and then I saw that his name came up, and I was a little suspect. I thought, wonder what's going on. And then your uncle sent me a lovely little email explaining what had gone on. So thank you, Jada, and I hope you have a great week. I always hope you're staying healthy, and I hope you're washing your hands, because I know where your uncle's been, I'm just saying. Other people who tipped me this week, Brian Caldwell, thank you so much. Miranda Kirkness as well. And Rocket Halsey, who is the artistic mind behind Area 51 Gallery. Now, I want you all to, especially if you're an American, because they can't ship to Canada, but Area 51 is on Amazon Prime in the States, and they have a lovely range of retro fridge magnets. They're all square, and then buttons, they're all square, and from like the Twilight Zone, MASH, Golden Girls, there's another one too. Oh, Nightmare on Elm Street. There's those as well. So check out their page on Amazon Prime, and they're a really good price. I was so upset. I'm so upset, Rocket Halsey, that you guys can't ship to Canada. But I totally understand. We'll talk. Seriously. And I also want to thank John Dwyer. God bless you, John. He felt so bad that Jorge hadn't picked up lemons last week, so he sent me a tip specifically for lemons, so this week's cocktail reflects that. And I also want to thank Richard Rocket Fan. He bought one of my Jorge Drink Me pins and is waiting on a red Jorge Drink Me shirt, so he'll be all decked out for his patio parties by himself until things change. I'm just saying. Speaking of patio parties, Jorge, drink me. Ooh, look at what you made. It's so fabulous. Okay, so in honor of John Dwyer, who sent us some lemon money, this is a dirty lemonade. This isn't just regular lemonade. You can do a hard lemonade with vodka. You can do a lemon aperitif with gin, or you can do just a real boozy, knock you in the teeth, drag you down to the border, and leave you there till somebody claims you lemonade. And that's with tequila. I'm just saying right now. So, of course, well, I don't know. What is this, my second one today? I don't know. We could be getting... Oh, here. Is there a spot there? Oh, there. All right, stick it there. I may have imbibed today. I won't lie to any of you. Not at this stage in our relationship. All right. Ooh, tequila and lemonade is delish, I'm just saying. And if you don't have lemonade, Fresca won't kill you. Not right away. Okay, so let's get to it. So we said goodbye this week, of course, to nobody, because, well, nobody went home last week. So this was an interesting backstage lounge after last week's episode, because normally there's some tears and missing and reflection, but no, everyone was just so thrilled to have avoided the chop. Seriously. You could tell that our Miss Cox felt that she had dodged a serious bullet this week and was very glad to be safe in the Untucked Lounge, as she should be. Heidi, on the other hand, seemed a little more upset that she'd been saying the word epiphany wrong for all this time. I don't know. I think that Michelle Visage probably thinks she sounds eloquent. Just saying. Well, Ms. Jada Essence Hall was feeling all kinds of confidence over her second win in a row. That's 3 for her in total. And you could see this was starting to work Gigi's last nerve. I'm so serious. That's probably why she shaded our Ms. Cox for still being there. I'm just saying. But I can see where Gigi was coming from. I mean, you go through all the trouble of a challenge and making it through the challenge. You expect one girl to go home. And as nice as our Ms. Cox is, I don't think Ms. Gigi likes her more because she's safe, seriously. The next day in the workroom, Ru showed up with one of my favorite mini challenges of all times, a bitch fest with puppets. Because everybody loves puppets, I'm so serious. So one by one, the queens had to go up to the sparkly pink dark hole, reach in and grab what they could. Crystal grabbed Jada Essence Hall. And I have to say, the best thing about Crystal's Bitch Fest with Jada's puppet was the makeover. She looked gorgeous. As far as the Bitch Fest went, there was more fest to it than bitch. Just saying. Jada pulled out Miss Gigi, and her bitch fest with that puppet was really all about shading Gigi's relationship with her mother, which I kind of understand on one level because I think some kids, or a lot of kids, don't have great relationships with either of their parents. I mean, their parents, they're doing it right. Kids shouldn't like it too much, especially at certain stages in life. But I have to say, I'm always amazed and impressed by anybody who gets along with their parents and vice versa. So I kind of felt bad for Gigi and felt that it was a little of a swing and a miss from our Jada Essence Hall, I'm just saying. Gigi drew our Ms. Cox and killed this challenge in the theater of her mind, I'm just saying. I mean, first of all, I just want to say, ever since Michelle Visage made that comment about our Miss Cox's 5 o'clock shadow, everyone seems to be picking on her for it, which, I mean, in a good-hearted, lighthearted, roasting type humor. But what's bothering me about it personally is I never ever saw a 5 o'clock shadow on our Miss Cox. I mean, certainly not one like you saw on Wilma, I'm just saying. So personally, I just think it's kind of now become an insulting thing that I hope isn't making our Miss Cox feel insecure, I'm just saying. What I'm really trying to say is that Gigi sucked during this challenge and not in the sexy way. But to her credit, she seemed to at least acknowledge that she wasn't doing well because for a minute or two there, it looked like she thought she was. Seriously. Our Miss Cox drew Sherry Pie, and I don't know, her bitch fest with that puppet seemed rough out of the gate. At least as rough as her makeover of that puppet was. I mean, what did she do, run over it with a car? I'm so serious. But her impression of Sherry Pie's self-centeredness and inability to remember a name or anything about anybody else in the competition was A, an insight into a personality aspect of Sherry Pie that we're not getting, and B, I think we're not getting it because she screwed herself over with her weird catfishing ways, and now they've edited her out of the program so much that we don't know what she's like. I'm so serious. But good for Miss Cox. Sherry Pie picked Heidi's puppet, and I have to say, the biggest read that Sherry Pie gave Heidi was in the makeover of that puppet. It was not good. I mean, I know Heidi's looked rough once or twice, but she hasn't looked that rough. I mean, this was rough enough that it put me in mind of Asia O'Hara in that Butterface app challenge. Do you remember? That's what I thought it was. See. Heidi drew Crystal's puppet, and I have to say, her bitch fest was, well, I don't know. I didn't understand a word she said, and I don't think Ru did much either because, well, she didn't win, did she? Just saying. Who did win, you ask? Well, our Miss Cox, I'm so happy to say. I mean, I'm also a little surprised, but when you think back at how bad some of these bitch fests were, there's more fest than bitch, I'm just saying, and more attention paid on those puppets. Seriously. But there was no time for celebrations for our Miss Cox because right away, Ru told the girls about this week's Maxi Challenge. They had to do a one-woman show. It didn't matter what they did. They could juggle babies. Well, I don't know if they could juggle babies because they couldn't share the stage. It had to be a one-woman show, whether it was comedy, whatever they wanted to do. And the big news of all was that Whoopi Goldberg herself was going to be not only a mentor for the challenge, but a judge as well. Sweet Marie and the Ships at Sea. I have to say, I was very impressed with Whoopi Goldberg being on the show. Not that she doesn't strike me as somebody who would do it, but she's another one who I think, well, she's quite famous. She doesn't have to do anything anymore, literally. So here's to Drag Race VH1 for getting Whoopi. So, because our Ms. Cox won the mini challenge, she got to pick the order the girls performed their one-woman shows in. And it just was very interesting because it seemed that nobody wanted to go last or later. Everyone seemed to want to go earlier in the middle, which surprises me. I think most people like to go in the middle or later so that the duds can get weeded out in the first two. Or if the first two are good, there's a couple of duds guaranteed in the middle to buffer whatever the heck you bring to the floor. So I still was, personally, I like to get it over with. I like to go on first or second, get it over with, because it does a couple of things. First of all, it allows you to drink. And then also, you get what you're saying out of your face first so that there's no chance of you copying anyone. Anyone after you who has similar topics or a similar tilt will look like they're copying you. So that's why I like to go early. But nobody seemed to want to. Now, because our Ms. Cox isn't an idiot and she was picking, she put herself first, which I thought was very brave. But she is a performer in New York who does her own one-woman show. She actually has a one-woman show that she performed off Broadway all of last year, from what I understand. So she's not unfamiliar with the concept. And so I thought it was very ballsy of her to go first, but I also understood it because I think that our Ms. Cox knew that she would do this well, regardless, this well. So if people were better than her, they were going after, so they would either make her unforgettable, but not in a negative way, or if they were worse than her, just make her look better and people would think back fondly on her act. Seriously. Who did go last? Well, poor Jada Essence Hall. And, you know, this whole thing, I don't know why Jada was so kind about it or easygoing about it, but there was this whole debate that carried over into Untucked, I'm not ashamed to tell you, where it was just like, well, who wants to go last? Nobody wants to go last. Well, who wouldn't mind going last? Somebody's got to go last. So, and then Jada was like, well, I could go. She didn't want to, but she was also like, well, you know, and it just seemed to become this subconscious. She wasn't saying to anybody that they strong-armed her into her decision or that she had made a decision that she didn't want to make ultimately. But I feel it was the guilt that Jackie, our Miss Cox, had or was feeling possibly over putting her into the last position. And I'll tell you, as a fellow Canadian, I know she was feeling guilty. That's part of how we're wired. We always feel guilty, even if we still go ahead and do whatever the hell we're doing. But it just was clearly not a good thing for Jada Essence Hall. But at the same time, everyone said, well, does anyone have any, here's your opportunity to complain if you want to. You know, there were opportunities made, and Jada was good about it. She didn't say anything. So, you know, this never bodes well, but at the same time, I thought, okay, everyone seems to be happy with the way the chips flew, because somebody does have to go last. Seriously. And then it was time for the queens to hit the runway for their rehearsal with Ru and Whoopi. First up was our Ms. Cox, and I just have to say, the only way her rehearsal could have gone worse is if Whoopi Goldberg had died during it. Quite frankly, it just didn't go well. But at least it went so badly that Whoopi gave our Ms. Cox some excellent advice. You know, just stay true to who you are and not to be afraid of taking chances. And she's only got 5 minutes to get that audience to love her. Seriously. Heidi's idea to portray her whole family at a family reunion seemed to intrigue Ru and Whoopi. They both saw potential in that. And then, well, Heidi started to be some of her family, and her execution, left a lot to be desired. In fact, it inspired Whoopi to give Heidi a masterclass in acting drunk. Lucky. Crystal's plan to play a stripper seemed to confuse everyone until she busted out her moves. I'm so serious. Her El DeBarge was gold, but the thing that really brought it home was her jerk. You heard me. Sherry Pie was going to be a psychic goldfish, complete with fins and disembodied fish head floating above the bowl, which sounded as convoluted as Sherry Pie was making it look with her little puppet fins, until Ruth said, well, why don't you just channel the goldfish? You don't need to be the goldfish. And, well, that seemed to open a world of possibilities for Sherry Pie, I'm just saying. Gigi's idea to be a flight attendant on an airplane to hell was a good idea out of the gate, but her execution of it was way too flat. In fact, Ruth suggested that she get rid of her script because it seemed to be holding her back, and just let herself be loose within the scene. And Whoopie agreed she should be improvising this kind of thing. But the minute Gigi put that script down, you could just see it was all falling apart around her. This is a girl who needs to plan everything. Bless her. Jada's idea to tell the audience about the first time her father met her boyfriend seemed like a good idea on paper, but the minute she started to tell the tale, she spoke so fast nobody could understand a word she was saying. I'm so serious. I mean, the only time she did seem to slow down was when she told Whoopie how much she meant to her and how often she played the Color Purple soundtrack before coming to RuPaul's Drag Race, which clearly touched a Whoopi Goldberg enough to touch Jada. And by touch her, I mean give her a hug, seriously. Take your mind out of the gutter. It's Whoopi Goldberg. Seriously. The next day in the workroom, the queens got ready, and Crystal was really eager to win this first challenge for herself because she wanted to prove to the other queens that she really is a threat. I'm so serious. Our Ms. Cox was feeling super nervous because she totally changed her concept last minute and now was doing an impersonation of her father and her mother. And not only was this a brave thing to do, just change her concept totally, but to impersonate her parents. I mean, we all know that her father's very supportive, but her mother doesn't seem to be. And all I can say is that it's one thing to have your mother disapprove of you dressing up in women's clothing. It's another thing altogether to have her disapprove of you for dressing up in women's clothing because you're making fun of her, and now she must kill you. I'm just saying. Of course, Gigi was doing herself no favors whatsoever by fretting in a corner because she was just adding more tension to her already very delicate frame, I'm just saying. While on the other hand, Heidi's impersonation of her whole family was sure to get her disowned. She was okay with that. The gag of it all, though, was Jada Essence Hall asking, "Who's that?" when our Ms. Cox mentioned Rose Nyland. Now, even Jada Essence Hall said, oh, yes, I see. I thought you were just naming somebody I don't know. Like, Rose Nyland is a weird name to throw. Now, I'm older. I've heard the name longer. I know when somebody says Rose Nyland, I go, where? But it didn't spring right into Jada Essence Hall's mind, and boy, was she read for it. Seriously. Look over there! And then it was time for the queens to hit the runway, and I just about barfed over RuPaul's Eleganza. That dress was stunning. The only thing that distracted me about it was the nude panels up top here. I wish they had been darker, even maybe with a fishnet over, I don't know, something, but they were just a little too stark. It was the only thing about the dress that I think made it less than perfect. Thing. Of course, joining Ru on the judges panel, as usual, Mama Michelle and Ross Matthews. But the big excitement was Ms. Whoopi Goldberg being there for her first time to judge the queens. And they did. First up, is that Dahlia Sins again? Geez, they are working. I hope she gets paid every time she puts that smelly old Brock Ally on. I'm just so serious. I liked the fact that Ru said to Michelle, I think she's stalking us, as in a stock of Brock Ally. I think they're both spending too much time in Britain. They're getting punny, those two. First to perform was our Ms. Cox. And I have to say, I was so nervous for her out of the gate. She seemed nervous too. But once she kind of got into it, and I loved that she was in drag and she had one style of glasses on one stool and one style of glasses on the other, and literally just moved over, sat down, put on the glasses, and was the other person. It was seamless, and it was, you could clearly, the glasses were so clearly part of that character. And I was just so impressed with our Miss Cox. And I have to say, I bet you she was too, because she seemed to be, a little more buoyant after her performance. Here's to you, Jackie, seriously. Crystal's stripper, Phenomenal Phil, was a hoot. I'm just saying, her inspiration to use a cat using a litter box as a stripper move, or as many stripper moves, was hilarious, and not something I'll soon forget. Oh, I'll get there, just not soon. Poor Heidi's portrayal of her family was a huge letdown, and I don't think her following Jackie and Crystal helped her in the least. I'm so serious. Gigi Good's flight attendant to hell started out strong, and for the most part, went over very well. I love that she was picking on the people in the audience, Karen and Gary, and I think all in all, she got some good laughs and seemed to entertain the audience, but clearly she kept distracting herself by losing her train of thought. And so what ended up happening for Gigi was she just seemed unconfident at times and fractured. And I think it took people out of the fantasy world that she was trying to set up for them, I'm just saying. Sherry Pie, to no one's surprise, was hilarious. But she also was on stage for 17 minutes. That's over three times the amount of stage time everyone else got. And because she was second last, there's Jada Essence Hall last, waiting for her to shut up so she can go on. And Jada didn't want to be last in the first place, so now it's like a double insult. And I have to say, there were some funny moments in Sherry Pie's act for sure, but not 17 minutes worth. I'm so serious. Jada Essence Hall's story about her dad meeting her boyfriend seemed to get nixed because she told the story about the time she wet herself in drag. And the only thing that was a shame about her telling of this story was it just wasn't structured well. She missed some great opportunities of storytelling to elaborate on things. Like, she was sitting there saying, well, my legs started to tingle. And my first thought was, is she having a stroke? Is she becoming diabetic? What's happening? She didn't elaborate on it. And then the whole time she's talking about her boyfriend on the floor in front of her, she's not explaining the process of untucking and all of that. And I think that if she had, while she's being a human water fountain or a 6-month-old baby getting changed, she really missed that opportunity. So, rightly so, the judges weren't impressed. But who's to say it would have gone better if Sherry Pie hadn't have hogged all that stage time, I'm just saying. And then it was time for the main runway. And I just have to say, I was so super impressed with our Miss Cox's purple people eater inspired look. Because the runway was the color purple. This was just so not a Jackie Cox look that I loved it all the more. I thought she looked fantastic. I'm so serious. Crystal's runway look put me in mind of that lead character in Where the Wild Ones Are, Where the Wild Beasts Are. You know, that the little kid in the onesie and the main monster on the island. Well, I was so impressed with that. I just thought it was magical. The fact that it was all done in little scraps of fabric really gave it almost a fur-like quality. So here's the Ms. Crystal. Excellent runway. Another great runway, of course, was Gigi's Daphne from the Scooby-Doo cartoon. I mean, the minute she turned around the corner, that's exactly who I thought it was. But the only problem was the green of her tights and the green of the buttons made the purple of her jumpsuit look more blue. So for me, watching from home, she just didn't look like she was wearing purple, I'm just saying. I loved Sherry Pie's runway look, and I know that she was being the Cheshire Cat, but I didn't really see a lot of Cheshire Cat there. All I saw was a purple pussy, and I wasn't sad about it. I'm just saying. But the standout on that runway was Jada Essence Hall. That purple dress and hat ensemble, it was such a nod to Guinan's look from Star Trek that when Rue and Whoopie said as much to Jada, she seemed a little surprised. Oh yeah, right. It does look like that. It just seemed to be a happy coincidence on her end of things. And whether it was a happy coincidence or just incredible acting to make herself seem more interesting than she already is, it was still an excellent runway from our Miss Hall. And then it was time for the judges' critiques. Everyone liked Jackie's runway look, but they loved her one-woman show, and rightly so, I'm just saying. Crystal was an obvious fave with the judges as well. In fact, I think they liked her one-woman show so much that they didn't even bother to talk about her runway look. I'm so serious. Heidi's one-woman show was a definite disappointment for the judges. They felt that she'd given herself too much, that trying to play 4 or 5 people got confusing even for her. It would have been better if she'd played 2 or 3, and I agree. But as bad as her one-woman show was, they could not get over the beauty and deliciousness that was her color purple runway look. It was just gorgeous. Here's to Heidi. I'm so serious. Every once in a while, shablam. The judges liked Gigi's one-woman show, but they were painfully aware that her nerves were getting the best of her. And as cute as that runway outfit was, it wasn't going to help change the judges' mind about it either, I'm just saying. Sherry Pie's runway was a hit, but her taking 17 minutes to get through her one-woman show was not. I'm glad that Michelle called her out on it and said she was selfish, because being a stage hog absolutely is selfish. You're dismissing everybody else's place in a show. And, you know, the only way to stop somebody from doing that is to call them out on it, usually publicly. It shames them enough that they're a little more sensitive about it the next time. I'm just saying. Of course, it was unanimous with the judges that Jada Essence Hall had the best runway look of the whole night, but it was painfully obvious that she started to even give up on herself in the middle of her one-woman show. I mean, that one moment where she even said to them, "This isn't going well, is it? Or you're not buying what I'm saying." I'm glad the judges pointed out and said that was a good moment, because sometimes people just don't understand what people mean about being in the moment. It's like, wow, I'm sucking. And if you say that, that's being in the moment. Now you're talking about the moment with everybody. And I'm not saying it always makes for a good show, but being in the room forces you to pay more attention and be more alert to possible topics to talk about than, well, just standing there and staring, I'm just saying. So when the glitter dust had settled and the judges had stopped judging, it was announced that this week's winner was first-timer Crystal, and well-deserved. She had a great set. She had a great runway. And all in all, just congratulations for Crystal. She's been working hard towards this, I'm just saying. Sadly, though, it was Heidi and Jada Essence Hall who landed in the bottom. And although I was surprised that Jada Essence Hall landed there after winning 2 Maxi challenges in a row the last 2 weeks, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty with these girls. All the queens have skills now, and it's hard. You're picking things apart with a fine-tooth comb, and it was just this week, Jada wasn't as good as some of the other queens, and so it landed her in the bottom. And I was a little worried, because first of all, Heidi's been in the bottom enough that it doesn't bother her as much. And she has proven that she's a lip sync assassin, so she's already got that reputation. I think that there's maybe a subconscious level of that where she's hoping that the other queens are, oh, I'm nervous, I gotta go up against Heidi. But Jada Essence Hall is also a pageant girl. There's no competition scenario that she has not fought her way through. I am so serious. So it just came down to the two of them lip syncing, and well, neither of them held back. This was a fun lip sync to watch. They both had their moments. They were both a little boring at times, but I really do feel that Jada Essence Hall pushed the envelope a little more, and she had that wig reveal, which I thought was great. But I just guess that either Heidi, the contest got the better of her, or she was just far too in her head, or I don't know, because she genuinely seemed upset to go. She didn't want to go. And even though she was sad about having to pack up everything in the workroom, you could see that she wasn't letting it let her down. There was sparks of that Heidi joie de vivre that's in there that we see as an audience. And, you know, it's every once in a while when somebody that you see that spark in doesn't have that spark, it's sad. And I just hope that Heidi finds her happy quickly, and that by the time this whole COVID-19 thing is done, she'll be ready and willing to wow everybody on stages across the land. I'm just saying. So, there you have it. Finally, an elimination. Now we're down to 5 queens officially. Who do you think could be next? It could be Heidi. It could be Jada. She's been down there in that area a lot, and she's lip synced now twice for her life. I don't know. The writing's on the wall for our Miss Hall. As for Gigi Good, well, is this funk that she's in going to continue? Will it make it worse? Will she let it get the better of her? Well, all we can do is tune into RuPaul's Drag Race next week and find out. And then when you're done, you come on back and you see me. Now, don't forget to please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also, like the video if you did. Leave a comment, too, because I respond to most things. And if you have negative things to say because you're not paying attention and think other people have said stupid things to you, take a minute. Just take a minute to re-listen or reread what it is that you took offense to so vehemently before you leave a comment down below. Because any comment that I feel is counterproductive to this whole RuPaul exchange that this really is, I will remove you from the chats. And I hate to do that. I really do. Because I think everyone has an opinion that's worth listening to. But I won't argue with people who just want to argue. And I don't think anyone else who comes to this channel wants to either. I'm just saying. All we can do is tune into RuPaul's Drag Race next week. And then once you come on back and see me so you and I can compare notes. Till then, miss me. Mwah. Seriously, I love this dirty lemonade. Tequila.